Tombstone Express has 1 to 6 players trying to guard a valuable item, but things go off the rails. The Unlock games are escape rooms in a box, meaning they're meant to be played once. We played this game at a game convention, meaning I'm not able to show you the components like usual. Also, I reviewed another game in the series, The Formula, and we'll add a link to it at the end. Okay, let me explain how to play. The game is card-based. You'll set certain cards out at the start. As you go through the game, cards also show letters and/or numbers. Find those matching cards in the deck and then reveal them. Object cards are red and blue. If you think one object works with another, combine the number of one red and one blue card, then search for that new number in the deck. Code cards are yellow and you'll enter the answer in the app. Machine cards are green and you'll need to figure out how to solve their puzzles in the app. Other cards are gray and can be locations, combined objects, and so on. There's a dexterity minigame in this one, which caught us off guard. I don't want to spoil things, but it's at least thematic. That's pretty much the game. Really look at those cards for hidden numbers, especially if you're holding one card that doesn't seem to go with anything else. Maybe the missing part was hidden on an earlier card. You can use the app to get hints if you're really stuck. If you run out of time, the game rushes you toward the end. Answer the question and see how you did. Solve the puzzles and cards to reveal more cards, and try to solve things before running out of time. That's Unlock Tombstone Express. Sorry that we had to reshoot this part. We had a couple of technical difficulties. The rest of the review will look like my usual ones. Beginning now. You could play Unlock Tombstone Express on a large coffee table. You'll spread some cards out, and we felt a bit more space was needed than for the formula. I mentioned a dexterity element, so make sure there's space to get up and move. Unless you've already played a game in this series, start with a 10-minute tutorial. You'll probably finish before time runs out. The main game timer runs for 60 minutes with a few extra minutes at the end. Depending on your family, this could be played on weeknights. There are tricky puzzles. There's quite a lot of reading, and there's some content that maybe won't be appropriate for everyone. Oh, and you'll need to be comfortable with numbers, especially adding double digits. Save this for ages 10 and up, and one player should at least be 16. I don't want to spoil Unlock Tombstone Express, so sorry if this is hard to follow. We immediately realized what the real mystery was going to be and started working on figuring out how to solve it. Suddenly, the train was attacked. Here's that dexterity part I mentioned a few times. We're standing, doing what we need to do, and doing a terrible job. It took longer than we were playing at home, but we did it. Oh, and if you're wondering if we actually solved the mystery, piece of cake. Unlock the Tombstone Express comes in a small box and it's just cards, so you can bring it just about anywhere and even teach it to and play with non-gamers. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I like games where you can do this. I enjoy games, puzzles, and stories, so I love the idea of escape room games. The puzzles here are better than the ones in Time Stories, which is published by the same company, and the story was our favorite out of the escape room in a box games we've played. Exit the Secret Lab and Unlock the Formula. The puzzles weren't brain-burning, but were challenging enough to not just blow through the game. Unlike in the Formula, we could easily read all of the cards. If you didn't watch that review, there was one puzzle that we were stuck on forever. As time passed and the sunlight came through our room at a different angle, my dad finally saw a number none of us could see earlier. It really hurt my enjoyment of that game. Here, there is none of that. This is obviously just my taste, but the Western theme was so much more fun than a lab theme. It allowed the game to be exciting and thematic, instead of what liquid goes in here, or how does this switchboard turn on. I really like that you could question people and try to figure out if they were being honest. It reminds me of one of my favorite games of all time, Chronicles of Crime. Some people hate when games use apps. This one plays music, is your timer, can provide hints, and is where you type in codes. It works really well, but I wanted to give you a heads up. When I reviewed Unlock the Formula, I said I didn't really like the deck mechanism. I thought it was gamey to just slow things down. I can't really remember, but it felt like this deck was smaller, so he spent less time searching and more time focused on the puzzles. If you're playing with people with mobility issues or would have difficulty moving and making this motion, there could be some issues. Again, just a heads up. Unlock Tombstone Express costs around $20 Canadian and provides at least 60 minutes of puzzles and mysteries for you and your friends and or family. Unlike the Exit the Game series, you can trade or sell this afterwards because you don't write on or damage any components. Some people may not like that some puzzles have been replaced and instead you'll have to read characters, but I enjoyed it. I'm not in a huge rush to go play another in the series, but I went from being meh to, yeah, I'll definitely play another at some point. Even if this box doesn't appeal to you, there are tons in the series. So if this all sounds like a good time and a good value, check it out.